So it looks like we're horsing around with horses. The Bonded Shield horse strat. So is this better or worse than Flyer Bonded Shield, and what can this do? So one advantage of this is there are more cavalry unit types than there are flying unit types. Flyers, you really just have Hortensia and Ivy's uniques and Wyvern and Griffin, and that's really it. So that's really just two unit types and then two unique units that have their own specialty class. But for horse, you have Mage Knight, you have Bow Knight, you have Paladin, you have Great Knight, you have Wolf Boy. Those are all the ones. Those are all the mounted ones. Wolf Boy. All right. So what are some pros and cons versus these? So one of the major advantages of running fewer flyers, so I still have 2 flyers, like I still have 2 dive units, but one of the big advantages is you lose a lot of weaknesses. You do get horsey weakness, which is technically a downside, but almost no enemies counter horses. There's very few enemies in the game that counter horses, so you really don't have as many critical weaknesses, and you can kind of be a little bit more reckless with your positioning. Another advantage is that there's more classes, there's more flexibility. So you can have a bunch of Mage Knights, you can have a bunch of Paladins, you could have Great Knights mixed in there, you could have Wolves mixed in there, you could have the whole family. So being able to run different unit types, like you could run daggers for counterattack, you could run tomes for counterattack, levin swords, javelins, whatever you want for enemy phase counterattacking. You have more flexibility. In terms of what do you have access to? You lose flexibility in terms of terrain. On this map, flying doesn't matter at all because it's all walls. So a flyer is as good as a cav, but this map is an exception, of course. So let's Bonded Shield, very standard stuff. We'll send Anna out. She has Speed Taker, aka Lynn. So she'll just chill out there, and then we'll just wait. We'll just wait to see what happens. Alright, so that's a very fast enemy. She's not doubling it. She just hits it once. Maybe if she Speed Takers again, she'll double it. She doubles this guy. Now, Mage Knight is, in my opinion, better than Sage for raw combat because of its speed. Sage is good for Speed Taker builds that poke. And honestly, I actually prefer Hortensia on Sage. She actually gets really good magic growth on Sage and can deal damage better than she can on her personal class. And she still retains the range +1 on staves. So Ivy on Sage, I think she's pretty good. But all right, so here's what we got. So let's kill a guy. You wouldn't kill a man, would you? You would kill a man. So we have Lil Anna up here on her little horsey, shooting dudes with balonies, bolognons. And she's tanking, she's leveling up, she's speed stacking. She's getting pretty good stat increases. She got Chaos Style, that's massive. That pushes her over thresholds for doubling. I can stick another unit here just to boost up the support. But this is, all Bonded Shield is good, but I think Cavalry Bonded Shield is potentially better. Alright, there goes Yunaka getting hit. It's potentially better because this frees your flyers up to go dive, and then you can have your main forces tank. So I think I might start religiously running Paladin Alir and just having like a Mage Knight Anna as default, and maybe like a Paladin Marin or Keietsu. It's pretty solid. You basically you just have fewer weaknesses. You don't have to worry about Wind, Excalibur, Elewind. You don't have to worry about archers at all. You can do the exact same things you could do on Flyer Bonded Shield. You do lose flexibility, so you don't get that amazing flyer flexibility for flying over things and being able to tank in weird positions. So there are pros and cons. It's not like pure upside in this situation. But you can see that an Anna just on a Mage Knight is just absolutely farming these, similar to how an Ivy would, but she's just more accurate. She proc twice. She's at 10% too, by the way. That enemy, did you see that? He didn't even want to attack her. He literally just gave up. He's like, I'm good. It's because her void is too high. He can't even hit her because she's so fast. She's actually insanely fast right now. She's 33 speed. She can one-round these dudes. So basically, like 3 units just completely killed all these enemies on Maddening. This is without DLC, so it goes without saying that Bonded Shield on Cavalry is very, very strong. I do like the flexibility though. You can run Wolf Knights, you can run Paladins, you can run Mage Knights, you can run Great Knights even. I'm messing around and trying General Panette. I don't really think it matters. There is one cool thing about this. I think I might run Roy on her for holdout or something like that, and she'll just be like an enemy phase. Like, she'll still Brave Axe and Tomahawk, but I think I'll run Roy and get Lunar Brace so that she can always have Lunar Brace on her. I haven't spent any of her SP yet, and I'm welling at 4 stars, so I should be getting tons of more SP books, so I can easily get her Lunar Brace. But yeah, this is just as solid. There is an argument to be made that having like 2 to 3 flyers and then like a horse squad makes the most sense, because then you don't have to deal with weaknesses as often. Now, Paladin isn't as good as a combat class as Wyvern. It's not much worse. It just loses weapon flexibility and flying, but it gains, you know, no anti-air effectiveness. So it has fewer effective enemies that counter it, so it can stand next to archers and you don't have to worry about it. So it can basically tank like 2 archers easily, whereas a flyer can usually tank 1 archer if the defense and speed is high enough. But you still have to worry about getting one shot by archers and like Excalibur and stuff like that, and Elwind. But yeah, I think it makes more sense to have your bonded shield be rooted to the ground and have enemies just like hit you, because bonded shield seems to work best when you're plugging holes and blocking things and denying enemies access, and flyers seem to work best when you need someone to just go over to something and kill it really quickly. So in this case, these dudes have quite a lot of health, but we're almost able to one-round them. They have high dodge rates, but you still have this huge advantage of insane tanking, really good positional control, and the ability to dive as needed. And then the flyers can actually play off of the tank instead of being the tank. And I think, honestly, making your flyers be tanks sucks. Like, the more I use this horse strat, I actually prefer it, because these mounted units can still break out and attack and grab space. So they're very much like flyers. So I think my ideal team comp is like 3 flyers and like 2 to 3 mounted, and probably just the rest is just sages and maybe like a tank or 2. This Panette tank, it seems to be doing okay. Let's get an example of how it's doing. Let's see. So she's still able to deal good damage. She's missing. She doesn't really need Ike for tanking physical. This is an enemy boss. What she does need is Erica for armor penetration, and that'll put her Brave Axe over. So she actually missed 85, which is unfortunate. That'll put her Brave Axe up there. Arguably, there are better things to run on Panette, but I like to test things out, because, you know, one good test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. So don't always believe what people say. Verify it. that's a thing that I live by. But also, that's like an engineering quote, I believe. The one good test. All right. So overall, I would say horse meta is potentially a real thing. I still think wyverns are hugely useful, and you should probably have like at least 2 of them for just diving things, because they're very powerful, and they can also fight other wyverns, and they can fly over things. Like, they can perch on weird out of bounds things, they can fly over annoying terrain, they can fly over fire, they can really play around a lot of things that other unit types can't. Like Corrin, a lot of people say that flyers are worse because they don't have interaction with Corrin, but in reality, it depends on how you use Corrin. Like, if you put down fire, they can fly right over it, kill a dude, and then canter into the fire, and then nothing can chase them. So they have options that other units don't have access to. Options that other units can't make use of. So, yeah, overall, definitely solid. I think it's a little bit safer to use. You don't really have to worry about getting hit. Like, if 1 or 2 things can hit the unit in the middle, if it connects and you're on a flyer and they're like an archer, they could one-shot you, so that's always like a potential thing. It's not as much of a factor when you get the bond support, so you increase your avoid based on all the supports of things near you, so it's not that bad. But when you don't have that and you are vulnerable to getting shot in the middle by bows, it's kind of annoying to deal with. So in some ways, it could potentially be much better than Wyvern Bonded Shield, only because it's kind of like this map's Sadal. Like, they give you Corrin on him. A Dancer shouldn't be spamming Icy Vein. You know, he shouldn't be doing that. He should be dancing. So it's very much like that, where if you bog your flyers down, who are high mobility dive units, with the task of babysitting your entire team, you're not really playing into their strengths. And if anything, you're just bogging them down with a task that's better suited to different units, while they can be free to go flexibly attack and rotate as needed. So they kind of act as like support, damage support, instead of like your main army. Now you can run them as your main army, and I've beaten the game doing that twice specifically, and it's fine. But I think this horse meta might be a thing, because also think about, like, if you're gonna run Anna, what are you gonna run her on? She's good on Sage, but I think she's best as a combat unit on Mage Knight, because it drastically scales her speed. Like Chaos style is just speed +3 for most combats, and it also increases her build. So you have an increase in build, you have passive higher speed, you have slightly higher speed growth, I think it's like an extra 5%, and then you throw in Speed Taker and speed +3 to 5, and you're looking at a super fast unit that'll always double everything on Bolganon. And that's huge. That's huge. And then you could also tank most things, so she can get shot by an archer and she doesn't care. She doesn't even have the option to be a flying tome user. She could be a flying, like, you know, Levin sword user or something, but if we're being real, Levin sword's not nearly as good as Bolganon. I know a lot of people love Levin sword, but Bolganon is way better. It literally has like the same stats but better damage. It's just better. And also, well, I guess I don't know if the avoid, yeah, I'm getting different avoid on this as well because of the engraving, because I'm losing a speed. But yeah, Bolganon is superior. And you can craft it similar, like almost as early as Levin sword, especially with DLC. So yeah, the new cavalry thing, Lucina. Honestly, I think Alir is the best Lucina user, because Alir has supports with everyone, and once you get the bond support ability at level 13 bond with Lucina, you have essentially like 200 avoid and nothing can hit you. So, like, it doesn't make any sense for anyone else to run Lucina, because no one has as many supports as Alir. So I can have supports with the entire cast, and no one else can do that. Now, it is possible you could build a team comp of units who you know support each other, and then you could have them be the horse squad. So I think Anna and Chloe have a support. Could be wrong, but if you built up, like, if you looked at the supports, you could build up a team that plays around that. But yeah, that's it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe. Feel free to drop a comment as to who you think the best Bonded Shield user is, as well as the best Bonded Shield unit type, and I will see you in the next one.